Hello. All right. Think we are live. Yes. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this edition of 39 Down, our Mind Body podcast. And I have a special treat for you today. I know every episode I say that, but I do believe that every guest that I bring is special, has a special message, a special teaching. And as you know, this platform is really my way of learning and sharing what I learn. And so our teacher today, Dr. Nadine Collins, is with us. I will let you know a little bit about her, and then we'll diving right into the topic today. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Collins, for being with us. And Dr. Nadine Collins holds a PhD in education with an emphasis on administration in higher education. Her research focus is on women in top leadership positions. She has a master's degree in educational psychology and an undergraduate degree in behavioral science with an emphasis on psychology. She has traveled extensively throughout the USA, the Canada, Europe, Asia, Africa, and in the Caribbean. Nadine inspires and empowers women to deepen their connection with God and live more intentionally by uncovering their divine purpose and build successful life aligned with it. That's the key right there. Her goal is that more faith-based women can break free from indoctrination, fear, and anything that sets barriers to their advancement. Dr. Nadine helps women build their speaking platform and write and publish world class books through her one on one and group coaching program. She was a guest on the 3ABN Dare to Dream Urban Report, How to Pray, which led to a new 13-part program on prayer called The Missing Piece. She has also a series on blessing that is headlined on Hope Channel in Kenya, an empowerment series for women in on Destiny TV, sorry, in South Africa, and she serves on the instructional team, sorry, of Mark Finley's Hope Live 365 online university. A very big, busy yet blessed and blessing others. I love, when I read this the first time, I was like, wow, she's really everywhere that we need all those platforms giving this message. And Nadine is the author of 8 books and more coming, including Make Your Prayer Life Go Wow, Secrets of the Wild Praying Woman, Wild Prayer Battle Plan for Spiritual Warfare, and her latest book, which is our topic today, The Pursuit of Purpose, a Woman's Guide to Activate Her Full Potential and Uniquely Impact the World. So if you have been following 39 Down, you can see exactly why I invited Dr. Nadine to be with us today. So thank you for Dr. Nadine for accepting the invitation.
Thanks for having me, Dillian. It's exciting to be here and to be able to speak to your viewers, your followers, the people that you have been impacting. I really appreciate the invitation.
Oh yes, I'm so glad that you could be with us. Just hearing about your book and the journey that you've been on, and I really wanted you to share this with the viewers because when we think about health, we think about eat well and exercise, right? And but really, if you don't know why you're doing those things,
Mhm.
right? You're not going to stick to it, and you always have, like you said, one of your the missing piece, right? You always have something missing, and so prayer and purpose coming into play in our life really, really binds everything together, and it's really true wellness, at
Mhm.
this point. So I wanted to start. I think there was a big move, the purpose driven life and all of that, all this movement. But honestly, I think that we're still confused about
Mhm.
what's purpose. you know. So could you explain that to us?
Yes, I like your intro and even how you said that platform for our discussion. And because I believe that a lot of us, when we think about purpose,
Mhm.
to me, it's a word that is overused, but
Yeah.
very misunderstood,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so when we're thinking about purpose and we're thinking about, who we are, when I speak to folks about purpose, there is a fundamental thing that must be understood for me to be able to accept the idea of
Mhm.
this thing called purpose. And in my book, for example, I'm going to just talk about the definition I have there, and then we'll circle back to this other thing that I think is really important, right? So when we think and speak about purpose, I put a short definition there in the book, which is really the reason why you exist,
Mhm.
the thing that you have been created, designed, and destined to do in the world, and also the divine assignment that no one else can complete in the world but you,
Mhm.
because it is yours to fulfill.
Ooh. No
So,
pressure.
yes, pressure. Why? Because there's this fundamental thing that we must understand even before this becomes something that I accept. That
Mhm.
fundamental thing is this: I need to know who I am.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
need to understand
Mhm.
why I'm here in the world.
Right.
I need to understand what I'm supposed to do. So when I speak to women, for example, because I speak to audiences, both male and female, but a lot of the work that I do it with women at
Mhm.
retreats, conferences, serving them one on one in my programs or in groups. But the thing is, when I get to speak on the topic of purpose, I ask women, "Who are you?"
Mhm.
And the reason why I ask, "Who are you?" and of course, sadly, the response is usually, "I'm a mom and I'm a wife."
Yes.
I'm a
Yeah.
mom of next number of children. I'm a wife. I'm married for so number of years. And I
Mhm.
would say, okay, that's not who you are. These are roles that you play. Talk to me
Right.
about who you are as a
Mm.
person. If you were to be introduced to yourself, what would you tell me about you?
Right.
And the
Right.
reason why that is so important to the topic of purpose is because we need to have a clear understanding of who we are outside of the roles that we play. And
Mhm.
then understand that another level is that I am not here in the world by chance. I
Mhm.
am here to fulfill or to complete a mission, to
Right.
fulfill a divine assignment. I'm
Mhm.
supposed to do something amazing. And so when we understand these fundamentals, then we will go in pursuit of what that thing is. But if I
Right.
have no clue of who I am and the fact that I am not here by chance, I am not
Mhm.
a mistake, it does not
Mhm.
matter what the circumstances around my life was, I am here in the world to do
Right.
something great, something specific,
Right.
right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so purpose is that
Mhm.
thing that you're meant to do, the reason why you exist.
Mhm.
It's you fulfilling that particular mission that no one else can do because it is yours to fulfill. It has
Mhm.
your name on it. And I
Right.
hinge that
Mhm.
on a text in the Bible, Jeremiah 1, verse 5, that says, even before you were conceived, I
Right.
knew you, I
Mhm.
consecrated you, and I set you apart. That
Right.
is the thing we go in pursuit of. What was I brought here into the world to do? What came prenatally? What
Mhm.
was there before me, before my conception, that I was set apart to do? So when I
Mhm.
understand who I am in the context of who God is, and that I'm not here by chance, that I have something to do, then I will be more intentional. I will live more intentionally. I will be in pursuit of what that thing is, which is purpose.
Exactly. That is so, because I think we just go step by step and we just think things just, happen, right? But when you live intentionally, right? When you understand that you were put on earth, however you believe that happened, right? But when you understand that you were put on earth for a reason, for a purpose, then your life, you live life completely differently. You don't just live to, if I can say, you don't just live to exist, right?
Mhm.
Right?
Yes.
You live with intention, with purpose, because you have something that you have to carry, that only you can carry the weight, that you can carry it. That's something that I have uh to embrace myself, because I'm one of those where it's like, well, if somebody else is already doing it, right? Doing a great job. For example, you wrote, if Dr. Nadine wrote a book on purpose. She did great. It's a great book. I don't need to write a book on purpose too, because but there's only one way. There's only, my way is not going to be your way, because it was not given to us the same,
Yes.
right? And so we can all add or create something new or add to something that already exists in our own specific way, right?
Yes, there's
Mm-hmm.
something that that you touch on there, and I think it's so important for us to understand that this idea of purpose, one of the greatest things about purpose is that whatever it is that you were brought here to do, there is no
Mm-hmm.
one in the world who can do it like you
Yeah.
but you,
Wow.
because the
Yeah.
assignment is yours. The
Mm-hmm.
assignment has your name on it. Now, the reason why I believe that many of us are not intentional about pursuing what that purpose is, it's because of the indoctrinations
Mm.
with which we grew up, especially if you grew up in certain cultures and certain
Mm-hmm.
religious groups
Mm-hmm.
and certain sectors of society. They would say to you, this is how you live your life. They may not tell us those exact words, but essentially
Right.
it's
Yeah.
modeled for us, and we were
Mm.
taught as well, because I
Right.
grew up in the
Mm-hmm.
Caribbean
Mm-hmm.
on the island of St. Lucia. And as
Mm-hmm.
kids, we were told, you need to go to school and learn. You need to
Mm-hmm.
get good grades. You need to
Yeah.
get a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And if the job is paying you X amount of money, then you've arrived, then you are successful. You can
Right.
buy this car, you can buy this home. And so,
Mm-hmm.
what happens to many of us, and the reason why many of us are not on that path to pursuing purpose, it's because we're living our lives based on the status quo. We're living
Right.
our lives based on the norms that we were taught, based on the
Mm-hmm.
traditions, based on the culture, based on what we've
Mm-hmm.
seen happen. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, like when I was growing up, I never knew anybody who was an international speaker or
Mm-hmm.
somebody who was being paid to be an international speaker. That was not one of the careers any of us said we want to be when we grow up.
No.
Every time they ask you, what do you want to be new? I want to be a
Doctor, lawyer,
doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a
teacher.
nurse, a police officer,
Mm-hmm.
a fire officer. Nobody
Right.
said, I want to be an international speaker, because there
Right.
was nobody modeling that you could actually be
Mm-hmm.
paid to travel internationally to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
when God called me, for example, to do that, it was a total step of faith, because I had not seen anybody who did it as a living. It was
Mm-hmm.
not my context. And
Mm-hmm.
so many of us, when we're called, for example, when we're called to purpose, when we're called to really step into our purpose and to live it out, it may call us to do something that is outside of anything we've ever seen done before.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why purpose is so personal. And
Right.
as you mentioned, somebody may be doing something. It may resemble what you think you may be called to do, but there is
Mm-hmm.
so much uniqueness in you, because there is a divine purpose formula. I was just writing something on the plane last night on my way back
Mm-hmm.
home, and I was talking about that purpose formula.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of us have a unique one. It's like a unique code because of our experiences, our background, our childhood, our everything that you've ever done, good
Mm-hmm.
and bad, every experience that you ever had, good and bad, all of your training, lack of training, whatever has happened in your life, the total combination of all of these
Mm-hmm.
positions you to be more effective in executing your purpose when you are aware of what it is. And that's when we realize, oh my goodness, when the Bible says all things work together for good, it's not a joke.
Right, right. But and I like that you brought that up, because we always think, oh, all things work together for good. Then it's just like, well, this situation is just going to work out, right? And God is going to bless me with this, and God is going to bless me with that, and this is going to happen. But we don't see the layers and the weaving and everything that's going on, and that good is not just that thing that you get,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or getting married, women, it's like, oh, it's gonna, we go through those steps, and we're thinking we're targeting like a specific thing. But
Hmm.
understanding, like you're saying, it works for good when God looks at us, or create us, or brought us, ordain our steps and put us up somewhere specific, you know, then all things around us work together for good of your being, you
Yeah.
know, of who you are, and everything about you. It just, like you said, directs back to your purpose, because there's a reason why you are here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh,
Yes.
that's beautiful. It's beautiful and powerful at the same time. And at the same time. And so my second, big question that I had for you was, or before that, I did want to make a point, because sometimes when we talk about like lawyers and teachers and doctor, and it sounds like you're not supposed to do that, but as you're saying, when you understand, your purpose, you may be a teacher, but there's something unique about the way you teach. Or you may be a lawyer, you may be a doctor, those quote unquote standard, but you're going into it with purpose, with understanding, with power, instead of just, I just need to check the box, of what's the job that's going to pay me the most and return on
Which is what
investment,
most of
you
us do,
know?
actually.
Yeah, right.
Unconsciously, we were taught,
Mhm,
let's fill in the gap. In
right.
the
Yeah.
Caribbean, the
Mm-hmm.
government actually have a list that they call the priorities list. At least
Mm-hmm.
I was in St. Lucia. And most of us, when we go through that part, all of these pages of that list, we're
Uh-huh.
looking for a career
Right.
that is unique. We're looking for
Mm-hmm.
an area to study in, sorry, to have a career that is unique. Because
Mm-hmm.
if I study in that area that is a need in my country and nobody else is doing, then I have a job. That
Mm-hmm.
is not a purpose life. That
Right.
is us filling in the gap. And so I have no problem with Dr. Lawyer. Actually, I always wanted to study law and I still want to study law.
Nice.
Was always a
Yeah.
passion of mine from a little girl, and my grandmother said, all lawyers are liars. The problem is that those were just normed jobs. That's all
Mm-hmm.
we were indoctrinated to believe or socialized to believe were careers that could bring us success versus
Yeah.
purpose, which may take you to a number of hundreds of different areas, has nothing to do with anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah. It's also dissociating the two, your career or entrepreneurship or writing, that is not in itself the purpose, but it can manifest in different ways. So the next big question that I had was, how do you find your purpose? Do you pursue your purpose? Do you understand your purpose? Is it in you? Is it out there? Because that's a whole other, when we talk about, again, living purposefully, then it's like, well, I have to find my purpose, and it's this quest to find the purpose. But I noticed that most people look for it externally,
Mhm.
right? So where is it?
That is such a beautiful question. And as I told you earlier on, I would share with you the first chapter of my book for your audience.
Yes.
When they read the prologue, it's really going to amplify that one question that you just asked with so many parts. Why? Because when I speak about purpose, I personify purpose and I speak about purpose as being there with me
Mm,
when those millions of sperms were dispatched from my
mm-hmm,
father's sac
mm-hmm,
on that journey to be implanted with an egg. Purpose saw me, had the spotlight on me, that one sperm that would go into be implanted, and cheered me along so that
mm-hmm,
as those millions of sperms kept getting tired and stopping along the way in the
mm-hmm.
hallway of the fallopian tube, and as they got more tired and more tired, there was this one sperm that won. And so I always say to people, each of us are winners because we won our very first race of life.
I like that. That's so true. We don't think about it that way.
Yes.
So
And so
true.
now think about this purpose. Before you were conceived, I already knew you. And that
Mm,
purpose was already there. But because of our indoctrinations,
mm,
because we were taught to go along with the norms of society, to go to school, and mind you, I have no problem with education. I am a proponent of education. I
mhm,
teach in the area of education. I love academics. But
mm,
what I'm saying is that our indoctrinations, the traditions and how we were taught did not bring us closer to purpose. Actually, I believe that the more we are going along with the status quo and with society and everything, the further from purpose we get. And so
Right.
just imagine purpose being with you, based on the analogy that I give in my book as I write about purpose, being
Mm-hmm.
with you in your mother's womb.
Mm-hmm.
Before you were conceived, I knew you. Purpose was already there with you. So all of us are growing up with purpose on the inside of us, but
Mm-hmm.
everything we've been taught on the outside does not take us inward. It's always
Mm.
asking us to accomplish things externally to validate ourselves.
Yes. Oh, that is so true. That is so true. It's like you have to become
Mhm,
something. You have to achieve something. You have to get the grades. You have to learn. You have to look a certain way. You have to, all the steps of life, and
mhm.
then that means you have achieved.
Yes.
But achieve what? You have not achieved your purpose, or you have not tapped into your
Mhm.
purpose. So yeah, that is so true.
And so,
That
and,
is
and
so
so now
true.
that brings us into where is it? It's
Right.
actually in you already because
Mm-hmm.
you were brought into the world with it. And so, in the
Right.
book, for example, I believe in the second part, when I speak about the search for purpose, I talk about all of the different avenues that we actually take to
Mm-hmm.
get to what people make us believe is a purposeful life. And
Mm-hmm.
for example, in that search, I talk about education. I talk
Mm-hmm.
about change, about money, about establishing family, about social status. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because these are some of the ways that we were told we will find purpose. And
Right.
many people, I tell you, most of the ladies I serve, about 95% of my clients are
Mm-hmm.
highly educated women. They have either um, PhDs, postdoctoral, whatever, some of them masters and stuff like that. Most of them already have first degrees, actually, if not all of them. And one of
Mm-hmm.
the things that I find and very interesting when I have conversations with women, even prior to working with them, is recognizing that each of these women would have gone through everything. They would have done everything that society told them would bring them success. And
Mm-hmm.
yet there is no peace. There is a
Mm-hmm.
feeling of a lack of fulfillment. There's
Mm-hmm.
not ease. It doesn't matter how much money they make it, whether it be six figures, double six figures, triple six figures, no matter what the salaries were or how much money they were being paid, how much
Mm-hmm.
money they made, how much education they had, how much impact people already saw that they have. People would think, oh, you're doing so well. And yet there is this feeling of
Mm-hmm.
feeling unfulfilled. There is this feeling that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, like something is missing. And I say to my clients all the time, and when I speak on purpose, I say it's because purpose is calling you, because
Right.
purpose is there all the time. But everything that we've been taught to do in our societies are actually taking us away from purpose, asking us to look externally for something that we need to be going internally for.
Right.
And so that's where prayer comes in. And that's why I love just marrying prayer and purpose, because in order for you to really uncover that divine purpose, the reason
Mm-hmm.
why you were brought here into the world, the thing that you're meant to do, is for you to now connect with the source who
Mm-hmm.
created you for that purpose in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so close to us because
Oh man.
most times, like ladies, like when it is we have a conversation, like have a discovery call in
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes, and I asked certain questions, they were like, oh my God, it was right there all along. Why? Because you were born with it.
You were born with it. That
Yes.
is that is so, you describing this woman, I'm like, you know, because so you go through education, and the guidelines, I guess, from parents and society is,
Mhm.
get this education and go to the highest
Yes.
in that field that you choose, right? That you kind of chose. You
Yes.
got there somehow, you feel like you chose it, but go to the highest of that, because that's when you achieve, right? And go to the highest, and then you get your job, you get your house, get this and that. And then it's like six figures, six figures, six figures, six figures, six figures. You must get to six figures. All right, because you got to the highest, therefore you need to get to which is not even the highest in salaries, but we just saying, like, if you get to six figures, then done. You know, and just I think it was this week or last week, and I was thinking, man, okay, so six figures doesn't doesn't feel like anything. Six figures is like okay, you know, because I remember when I started working, and I forget it was maybe 3 years into, I had a conversation with my manager, and and I was like, I need to get to the six figures, you know, like yeah, you're giving me little raise here, little raise there, and I'm doing the extra work and all the stuff. It's like, you know, where do I get to six figures? He was like, oh, well, you know, that's for, you know, experience and this and all of those things. And not that you will never get there, but it takes time, you know. And then you feel like you getting there, or you got there, or whatever, you know. And it's like, well, you know, okay,
Yeah.
what's next, right?
Wow.
You know, so it's like great, but at the same time, it's like your life is
Mm,
not richer for
mm,
it.
mm,
Okay, you feel like you have more,
mm,
really in Texas,
mm.
but
And I
so
mean, if we're operating in purpose and the six figures come, it's a good combination. You know what I mean?
right,
Because
if you
that
have to
you have
choose,
everything.
right, but you may feel like you have more in the bank and can pay your bills,
Right.
right,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a status, but then your life is not richer, your life is not
Mm,
full, right,
exactly.
and
Yes.
it's just like, you know, and then you're afraid to lose the the six figures, you know, and so that's where, you know, I think um purpose, you know, again, the importance of it. You may be walking your purpose, end up in the same profession, right? The same occupation, the
Exactly.
same career and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
you live it, you experience it, I think, differently when you
Absolutely.
understand that purpose. I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what I've recognized
Hmm.
is that most of us, I can speak specifically for women because that's who I work with.
Hmm.
Most of us, when we reach that point of knowing exactly why we're here, they will drop the six figures in a heartbeat. I have a client
Hmm.
who actually did,
Wow.
dropped in
Yeah.
a heartbeat. I've had so many of them quit their jobs so they
Hmm.
can focus on what they're meant to do. It took
Hmm.
some mind work. It took a lot of faith. It took a lot
Hmm.
of conversations with their husbands, but their husbands saw that they were dissatisfied.
Hmm.
They were
Hmm.
not at ease. And the difference that comes, one of my clients was saying to me this week, she said, my husband says I look happier now.
Yeah.
Daughter was saying to me, Mommy, one client said to me 2 weeks ago, she said, my daughter said, Mommy, when I grow up, I want to do just like you. And why? It's because they're finally seeing their moms
Mm.
at ease and at peace, because there is something about purpose that gives you peace and ease that money cannot give you, no matter how much. And I have no problem with money. Let me just make that clear. All of us should be wealthy and
Right.
living abundant lives. We were created by God for it.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
thing is, it cannot bring us peace,
Hmm.
fulfillment, joy, and ease, because when we're operating in purpose, there is
Hmm.
a natural flow that comes because what you're
Yes.
doing is so aligned with
Hmm.
you that
Hmm.
I tell people, and I have it in the book, I speak about the fact that purpose is its own motivation and inspiration.
Hmm.
Because purpose is the gift that will keep on giving you more because you're aligned with you.
Hmm.
Just imagine living a life that is aligned with the reason why you were brought here in the first place. That's
Hmm.
the best life. That's the most successful life. And
Yeah.
that could lead you in a path of great wealth, success, impact, everything. But
Hmm.
we have to pursue it. And as you mentioned earlier, sometimes it may lead you to the same career, but with a different mindset. Because if you're
Yes.
doing it and you're so there is a mindset thing that has to happen when we're on this journey of pursuing purpose. It
Hmm.
has to be about me recognizing that I am here on an assignment.
Hmm.
I had this thing I said many years ago to myself. I could never, and God proves it to me over and over again, I cannot outmatch him. There are no plans that you can have for your life that are
Right.
so great and
Yeah.
grand that God, that you can actually outmatch the plans that God has for you.
It's
You-
like when you put it that way, because we're so like, I have to do this and that. But yeah, we cannot outmatch God and his plan.
Mhm.
I mean, it's beyond what you can even put together. You can even imagine, yeah, that
Yeah,
is so true.
Jeremiah 29:11, my favorite text says, "For I know the thoughts I think toward you. I know the plans I have for you. They are plans
Mhm,
to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you great hope and a future." Some versions say an expected end. And
mhm,
that I link directly to this Jeremiah 1:5 that speaks about the assignment that we have. There is this promise that you are going to prosper in your assignment. Your
mhm,
assignment is going to bring you into great success. And in Proverbs 18, verse 16, the Bible says your gifts,
mhm.
and I put there your purpose, the
Right.
thing that you were meant to do, it's going to usher you into the presence of greatness.
Mhm,
And so many of us, we find ourselves in the jobs, falling into the line just as we were taught. We're
mhm,
fighting for promotions, we're fighting for us to sit at the table, not recognizing that if you are aligned with
right.
what you're meant to do, if you are aligned with yourself and with God, because it's
Mhm,
alignment with God and what He wants you to do. So it's in you.
mhm,
So when you are aligned with what you're supposed to do, you will naturally experience ease because
mhm,
whatever you're doing, there is no force. There is
mhm.
no energy. A lot of us with the six figures and seven figures, we are sometimes drained. I don't really want to go to that job. I'm just doing it because. But
Right,
when you're
right.
operating in purpose,
Mhm,
when you don't even feel like you have the energy, you fueled by yourself because what you're supposed to do, it's already there. So it just gives you what you need. And so
mhm,
when we find ourselves operating in purpose, we find ourselves getting into rooms because we're living authentic to who
mhm,
we were meant to be, to what we were meant to do. And because of that authenticity and the power of being able to stand in that truth of who you are and what you're meant to do, you're going to go into places that not our education, not
mhm,
our money, not our status, not our family names, nothing can take us into these rooms. But the fact that you are just living a life that is so true to you, so
mhm,
true to your purpose, so aligned with you. So you're doing it with such great ease that it
mhm,
will attract everything that you've been looking for, that you've
mhm,
been trying to force, because your purpose is going to make room for you and usher you
mhm.
into rooms where
Right.
you don't even have to force to be.
To force. Yeah, we try to do so much, I guess, on our own.
Mhm,
And like you said, I have to go and ask for this and I have to make this happen and I have to do this and I have to do that to forge this life that I have in mind that I need to, or that others have told me, and now it's in my head, and this is what I must do, and and you're forcing,
mhm,
um, there was the book Power versus Force, and I always say it's really flow versus force, because the flow gives you power, right?
mhm,
When you're flowing into your purpose,
mhm,
right? You have power, and it's not your power that
mhm,
you try to use and force. It's
mhm.
not your power. The
No.
stream is not the water. It's innate. It's just powerful as it is,
Mhm,
right? But then when you are there trying to force and make things happen and push the boulders and try to get the gears going, and you just like, it's hard, it takes time, it's tedious, right?
mhm,
But if you just let it flow, it just naturally happen. And the gift making room for you, I think it was my husband was telling me, I was just saying my husband was telling me, but we were talking about, I think it's in his book too, he's talking about the gift, how the gift was, going ahead of you, right? And that, historically, when a king or where somebody arrive and you're asking for an audience to another king, like the Queen of Sheba, for example, is good. Uh, the gifts arrive, right? And
mhm,
then you arrive,
mhm,
right? And so your gifts, everything is set, is in you,
mhm,
right? And it just somehow ripples ahead of you, and you are just flowing into it, right? And it just opens up. It just opens up, and it's such a beautiful thing, and it sounds so simple, but I'll tell you my struggle is is knowing that, and yes, having to unlearn and unsubscribe
Mm,
other stuff.
mm, mm,
And so it's like I hear you, I
mm,
know it, I can say it,
mm.
and I have great trouble living it.
I mean, I appreciate your honesty because I believe that many of your viewers, a lot of
Mhm.
women, are in that very same position.
Mhm.
Or, and the thing is, it's a work that every single one of us had to do. So let me
Mm,
just make that real clear. It's not like
right.
I have it together because I had to unlearn and unlearn real quick because I
Mhm.
did not want to fit into any box.
Mhm.
I grew up
Mhm.
my entire life fitting into the box that I grew up in. And
Yeah.
now I'm at that place of freedom in my mind. And we
Mhm.
all need to get to that place of freedom. Why? Because so many of us are living. You know, the world speaks of imposter syndrome. In my book, I debunk the way that they describe it because
Mhm.
what I think of imposter syndrome, especially for believers, is the fact that many of us are living lives that are not aligned with
Yeah.
who we were meant to be. So it's
Right.
not about trying to be anybody else. It's about you being true to who you're supposed to be.
Mhm.
And so many
Mhm.
of us are not living our true lives. We're living below our potential. We're
Mhm.
living lives that are okay, but not the
Mhm.
way we're supposed to live because there's so much more that we have. And so the thing about unlearning, initially, before I shortened the subtitle of my book, it was about breaking indoctrinations.
Mm.
There is
Yeah.
something else that I speak about from my doctoral dissertation. The mentally constructed glass ceiling is a term that I formed after my
Mhm.
study, which
Mhm.
is what I also talk about in the book. It's breaking these indoctrinations,
Mhm.
these unconscious codes that are guiding our decision making process, guiding
Mhm.
the way we think about ourselves. Who am I?
Mhm.
Guiding the way we think about why we're here in the world and what we're supposed to do. It's
Mhm.
getting rid of these indoctrinations, getting rid of any limiting beliefs that says you cannot do this because of your gender,
Mhm.
your race, your
Mhm.
this, your that. It's getting rid of whatever is up here because I believe that many of us are hindered not by systems and organizations and cultures as much as we've hindered in our minds. Because
Yeah.
when you make up your mind that
Mm.
you're not going to be pressed down or pressed by anything, it doesn't matter what obstacles are in your way, you're going to push. But
Mhm.
if I am already defeated in my mind, or I have already told myself that I could only acquire this, or this is only what's acceptable for me, I will go
Mm.
ahead with that thought process. So it's breaking through these indoctrinations, getting rid of them, unlearning, getting
Mm.
rid of all of these codes that we have in our minds that influence decisions and what we think about ourselves, etc., to now
Mm.
train ourselves to become everything that God created us to be.
Right, right. I want to, this is such a powerful discussion. I do want to encourage the viewers, if you have questions or comments, it's okay to post in, post in the comments. We see them and we can address them. Um, this is so powerful. And is the key, I did this. And when you said on certain things, there's only certain things that are for me, and there
Mm,
are things that are for other people but not for
mm,
me, right?
mm,
We
mm,
have that knowledge, and I think especially maybe in the Black Caribbean, Black American culture, when you go back to the limitations that were put on us, and so
mm,
there are things that others can have and that I cannot have, right?
mm,
And if I look a certain way, well, I can have this, and if I look a certain way, then I can only have that, right? And going through those steps, and it gets in you to where you um you limit yourself,
mm,
right? Because you believe, right?
mhm,
You believe that you are limited, that there
mm,
are limitations, and then you limit yourself. And um I know in my country of origin, in Martinique, we are always talking about those people can get loans and for business, those people can do this and those people can do that, but you know, not you. It's not for you. And
mm,
even when you go to the bank, they'll say, well, great idea. But
Yeah.
it's not for you.
Yeah.
Find somebody that maybe can vouch for you, and then you can, I don't know how it is now, but and I think it's similar here as well. We feel that, but and not to just blame it on a race or anything like that, but it's those limitations that we put on ourselves, that others, right, others are lower and others are higher, and we
Mm-hmm.
are here, and this is our place, and we cannot move from that. Make your life on this plane, right, and
Mm-hmm.
check all the boxes on this line.
Right.
Right, while when we are in purpose, you know, any level, any line, you high, low, uh, high, low, looking at the camera, um, you are moving through all those things. You're impacting,
Mm-hmm.
everybody that you're really supposed to impact along
Mm-hmm.
the way. It's a
Yeah.
completely different way of living.
Yeah. And I think I want to clear one thing here
Mhm,
for our
mhm,
viewers. As you mentioned it, and I'm sure we do not want to minimize
mhm,
the fact or reality that there are systems
mhm.
put in place sometimes to keep certain groups of people oppressed.
Yeah, yeah.
However,
Mhm,
when we're operating in the realm of our purpose,
mhm,
if you fully accept you, who am I?
mhm.
You fully
Right.
accept you.
Mhm,
You understand that you are here for a reason. You're not here by chance. So,
mhm,
what anybody says about me, what anybody thinks about me, whatever obstacles have been intentionally created to hinder me doesn't bother me because you might
mhm,
stop me. You might have, yes, you might have access to or be in control of things that I would like to access, but you cannot stop me from dreaming. You
mhm.
cannot stop me from wanting to become more of
Mm.
who I need to be. And
Right.
so it's for us now to recognize that while systems and other things may be in place that may appear to want to hinder us, we need to understand that we do not need to be validated by other people. So, yes, I may need money to do XYZ, but let's suppose you're saying, I cannot fulfill purpose because I don't have money to do anything
Mm.
that you're being called to do. You already have everything that you need to succeed in it.
Right.
God will never call you
Mhm.
do something that
Mhm.
he has not already given you everything that you need to make it happen. And that's
Mhm.
why I said earlier, it's a gift that keeps on giving, because when you're operating in purpose, the God who designed you for it, you go right back to him and ask
Mhm.
him for strategy to,
Mhm.
to create from it, because you're already in the realm of all that you're supposed to. Now, Lord, I need wisdom
Mhm.
and divine strategy to execute my purpose, to be able to have impact and to influence. And
Mhm.
so it's recognizing that you don't have to figure it out on your own. And
Mhm.
while there may be blocks and people, whatever, the problem is that too many times we try to depend on organizations. We try to
Yeah.
depend on systems. We're thinking, oh, the only way that this thing could be acceptable as a woman, for
Mhm.
example, is if my husband support me. And if my
Mhm.
husband is not supporting me, I cannot do it.
Right.
Wrong. You have
Mhm.
God backing you up. Your husband or your wife supporting you in executing your purpose is bonus.
Mhm.
You need to be the one who fully accepts your call because it is only yours.
Mhm.
Your spouse, your parents, your children, your friends, nobody will have to give an account to God about why you did not do what you did not do, but you.
Right.
And so this external validation that we're constantly looking for and recognition from these sources.
Mhm.
Listen, if for example, if you're in a church and the church doesn't want to give you a platform to operate in your purpose, nobody can prevent you from doing it on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Nobody can prevent you from going by the side of the streets and do what you have to do.
Mhm.
This idea of being externally validated, we
Mhm.
give it too much power, and it
Yeah.
keeps too many of us back from being
Mhm.
true to ourselves and true to
Mhm.
God. And when we are true to ourselves and to God, we become truer to everybody else. Whether they
Mhm.
accept you or not, you're being authentic, you're living the truth, you're living why you're here. And so I want us to understand that we do not want to minimize the obstacles, but at the same time, these obstacles cannot prevent you from becoming who you're supposed to be. Because at the end of the day, all that you need to succeed, you already have it. You were born with it.
That is so true. Can you guys still hear me?
We can hear you, but your camera is off.
Yeah, not sure what happened there. Might need some technical support. Um, Here you
Okay,
go.
you're back.
All right. Not sure what happened. Um, yeah, but and I have a comment, a question here. I will take that question, and I want you to talk about um, alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because from what you're saying, we have to be aligned and we have to be in tune, with, I think, with God, with our purpose, and it has to be in us a certain way as well. You have to live it a certain way. And so that was my thought before we got the question. I want to show the question. Lorraine said, I am a retired teacher who has returned to teaching. I'm confident in my purpose, but is there a way to allow children to begin early thinking about their purpose? Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yes, Lorraine, that's a good one. And just last week, Sunday, my friend was saying to me she wanted to know if I could write a book about purpose for children. What
Mm.
I can say, Lorraine, that we can do
Mm-hmm.
is that because when we were growing up, there was not a focus on purpose. There was a focus on careers,
Yeah.
a focus on jobs, and of us falling in line with everything that people say would bring us success.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know better now, we are going to the better, and the better that we're going to do is when we are now raising children, we're not trying to make them fall in line with all of the careers that we knew of the past. Instead, we're going to try to help children from very early to look at them from an early age, look at the passions that they have, look at the things that come naturally to them. Because if you want to find people who are more aligned or more closely aligned with purpose, we need to go to this younger and younger age. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
love your system, Delane, in Martinique,
Mm-hmm.
where you have teachers who are highly educated teaching the youngest ones. Unlike
Mm-hmm.
most of the Caribbean islands, we have people teaching in the pre-K, preschool, and so on. People who maybe high school dropouts or just high school graduates and so on. What
Mm-hmm.
happens is if we can now shift from trying to push them into specific directions into allowing them to do what we call in education exploratory learning, and there's so
Mm-hmm.
many other terms that are being used, it's because these children, I tell people all the time, if you want innovation and creativity,
Mm-hmm.
you want to go to a pre-K classroom. You
Yeah.
want to go to the little ones
That's true.
because they have not yet been
Mm-hmm.
really totally really raised. The slates are
Yeah.
still somewhat, closer to what it was. But the
Mm-hmm.
older we get, the more
Yeah.
experience we get, the more education we get, the more experience, the more this, and the more and more we get is the further and further away we go from purpose,
Mm-hmm.
because we're being taught to think,
Mm-hmm.
how to think. Just imagine if we have 10 million psychologists in the world, every single one of us are thinking the same theories. But we're
Mm.
thinking we are thinking we're so cool because we're educated, right?
Right.
I studied psychology. We all know the same theories. We think the same way. But when you are operating in purpose, it may force you to think
Mm-hmm.
outside of the box.
Mm-hmm.
To think
Mm-hmm.
outside of, so we learn from everything. We learn from everybody as far as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Fromm says, all truth, as far as it's true, is God's truth. And so
Mm-hmm.
we can learn from everybody, but the execution of purpose is a divine instruction that we're living out. Now, if
Right.
we can take our kids and watch them, talk to them, question them, look at where probably there is a natural inclination. Now, mind you, a natural inclination does not necessarily mean that it's purpose.
Mm-hmm.
However, like for example, in the book, in the final chapter, chapter 21, I talk about that idea of how you can go about finding it. But for
Mm-hmm.
the little ones, it may be about the things that they're naturally good at, the things that they're passionate about, the
Mm-hmm.
things that they can do, instead of us trying to push them into directions. Because a lot of people, especially in our age group, I think, were actually or are actually living lives that are more aligned with maybe parents and
Mm-hmm.
grandparents, versus I did what I really desired to do because my
Mm-hmm.
parent, because I wanted to be a lawyer. My grandmother said all lawyers are liars, killed
Mm-hmm.
my dream, or so we thought, because it's still there.
It's still
And
there.
so many of us are still Maybe living lives. I've met so many people who said, "Oh, I went into nursing. I did it for 20 something years, but it's my mom who told me to do that because I
Mm-hmm.
will always have a job. I went
Mm-hmm.
into accounting because
Healthcare,
my
right?
mother wanted me to do this." And so many of these stories keep coming up. How can we really protect our young children from going in that direction? We know better. We do
Mm-hmm.
not want our children to live our lives. We do not want our grandchildren to live our lives. We do not want to force children into choosing career paths that we think
Mm-hmm.
that are actual, indicators of success, but
Mm-hmm.
rather allow them to be true to themselves. And it could be something simple, like for example, living on purpose may not look like these successful careers, but because you're so aligned with you can create great success around it. I'm not a mother, but I always said, if I had kids and they don't want to go to college, I would say no problem. But by the age of 21, you need to make $1 million. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you do that, it tells me that you're doing something that you're good at, you're passionate about, it's having impact. I mean, probably I exaggerated the million, but that's exactly what I actually said to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because sometimes it may not be the path that we want. It may not
Mm-hmm.
look like all of that we know. However, we want our children to live true to who they are,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that God does not have grandchildren. When I speak on prayer, I tell
Mm-hmm.
people, God has only children, no
Children.
grandchildren. So
Mm-hmm.
he has plans for these little kids. All of these kids were also brought into the world for a divine purpose. And we really want to be able to guide them to really live out their purpose. And the younger they are, when you get it, the better your life will be. Because
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't have to go through all of these years of having a career that in your 30s and 40s or 50s, you just want to just get rid of it so that you can now focus on what was always in the back of your mind, the thing that always excited you, always brought you great joy. You don't want to get it in your 50s and 60s. We want to get the kids to that place very early, guide them along the way so that they can begin to create success in their purpose versus having to go through what we went through, which is experiencing these jobs that bring us no fulfillment, no peace, even though it pays the bills, so we can
Mm-hmm.
raise a generation of more purposeful children.
That's wonderful. I had two stories that came to mind. So I have a friend and whose child draws. He's very young, and he draws beautifully and with a precision that is out of this world. And he's learning to draw. He's learning different techniques and so on, a very very young age.
Mhm.
Things that people learn in art school, right? And so he's posting the drawings and everything, and and showing up drawings, and wherever he goes he has his sketch pad and he's drawing, and people are telling him, oh, you're so good at drawing, you could be an architect. And over people are telling him, you can be an architect, you could be an architect, you could be an architect. And so I guess the friend finally had enough and posted, stop telling my child that he can be an architect. It could
Wow.
be anything else. It could be architect or anything and anything, and just like you're saying, like this sense of precision that he has, the eye for aesthetics,
Mhm.
precisions and line and movement,
Yeah.
and the patience, the time that he takes, and the organization, all those things that he is how say build nurturing, that's the nurturing through drawing. He could be an artist,
Mhm.
or he could use those same skills, in line with his purpose. and
Mhm.
and and, and so sometimes again we try to put people in a box,
Yeah.
and it's not so much that this career is not good in
Mhm.
general, but is it what I am called to be doing?
Yes.
It's
Mhm.
different. And then the other story that I had was my with my daughter. So she was in pre-K and in kindergarten, and in end of the kindergarten. So they had this kindergarten graduation and all that stuff, and so and the theme was inching our way to college.
Mm.
um, and she's like doing everything and everything, and then she had to choose a college. What do you want to be which is we already had that conversation with her. So she hit them with the I'm already what I'm going to be. I am who I am, but I'm going to do. And I was like, okay, poor teacher. But so so what you're going to do, and she wants to be a ballerina, every yeah. And then you go to the we don't know, now we go to the graduation, everybody has those serious careers and she's in a tutu. And I'm
Mm,
like, okay. you know from my indoctrination, I'm
mhm,
thinking parent fail. My child is in a tutu while everybody is a doctor, lawyer, fireman, policeman, researcher, and then I'm
mhm,
a dancer and I'm going to Juilliard. And like, okay. But then it actually created in her a little bit of anxiety
mhm, mhm,
because she understood it was explained to her in college. You leave home and you go to college, and she's like, "Well, I don't want to go anywhere. Like, I don't want to, you know." So she's like, "I don't want to go to college. Do I have to go to college?" And she's, in kindergarten. Do I have to go to college? And so, and then we told her, "You don't have to go to college." And she was like, "Oh, I don't have to go." And I
wow.
said, "Well, you don't have to go. What we need to do is understanding, how you're going to show up in the world, and what you want to do. And there may be one thing that you want to do. There may be lots of things that you want to do. Now, as you figure out what it is every step of the way, some of those things may require a
Mhm,
college degree
mhm,
or college education. And then if you say, okay, this is what I want to do and this is the path, then you enroll in college." And then I told her, and you know what? They have online college. You can be at home and be in college. She was like, oh, they are? But that alone, it was like, it just opened up, you know, so much, and so not to say not to talk to kids about college or not, but
mhm,
it's and not have him stop thinking, because you
mhm,
should think about, how do I show up, and the things that I can do, or that I don't want to do, or what have you, and
mhm.
having thinking about that. But it was just, it was
Wow.
so impactful, because they rehearsed for so long and the teacher is talking about it and everything. And she's a that great teacher. I say I wanted all my kids to go to her, but she's great teacher. uh, but that theme for my child, maybe because of how we were already kind of raising her, it created this, like, she was in this deep reflection.
Mhm,
And I felt like, if we had given her a different answer, we probably would have
mhm.
missed the
Wow.
boat on that. So
Yeah.
anyway, two little stories that came to mind, and Lorraine said thank you and very helpful. um, we didn't talk about alignment. We're almost at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
Could you just touch on that? I get know it's going to be brief, but when we, again, so connecting to the source,
Mhm,
to summarize what we talked about, connecting to the source,
mhm,
understanding our identity, right? And understanding the purpose, special, unique purpose put in
mhm,
us. And now we have to just go out there and do it, I guess. But
mhm.
the alignment,
Oh,
from
yes.
my reading, I have found it's important, because you can, again, I think that's where I am. That's probably why I want to touch on it. Um,
Mhm,
you see all those things and you kind of have glimpses and understanding, but for somehow, again, in you, because of how you were taught and everything, it's just pulling and tearing, because you're not fully aligned with this
mhm.
new understanding.
Yeah, and that's absolutely the case actually.
Mhm.
If you're not, I was in a business meeting about 3 weeks ago, and I saw one of my colleagues, and I noticed that she was uncomfortable. Something wasn't right with her. And so I sent her a message to say, let's have a chat. And so she was saying she was feeling aligned with her business, and then, but you can feel her anxiety and her uneasiness.
Mhm.
So we had a call. She's of Asian descent, 30-minute conversation. And by the end of the session, she was like, just, aha, we met in a mastermind together.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that alignment does, when we're talking about alignment with our divine purpose, alignment with what I was brought here into the world to do, alignment with my divine assignment, there is ease that comes that money cannot buy.
Mhm.
Anytime you're experiencing any level of disequilibrium, you know that you're not where you're supposed to be, because
Wow.
the alignment we're talking about here is an alignment with what's in you since before you were brought here. So
Mhm.
all it does, what purpose does, it brings you into alignment with your real true self, your
Mhm.
real true calling. It's almost like it's a call to becoming you, the you
Mhm.
that you came here in the world to be. And so anytime we're not in that full alignment, and many of us can trick ourselves into thinking that we're aligned, but when we lay in our beds at night, we're thinking of something else. There's a desire deep inside of you that you
Mhm.
wish that you could do that you're probably not feeling bold enough to do. There are
Mhm.
so many levels of fears, different kinds of fears that are in your mind, bombarding you, saying to you, maybe this is not the time to do this. It's a little too late for you to do that. You have already studied in all these different areas.
Mhm.
This thing, you have no idea if you're going to succeed at it. You don't even know if it's going to make you money. Look at how comfortable your life is right now. You think you're just going
Mhm.
to go make a big risk and just do this thing. You don't even know if the thing going to be successful, etc., etc. All of these negative thoughts just coming out,
Mhm.
all of these fear, thoughts of fears coming to say to you, don't do it. But at the same time, the presence of that thing is not going away because you're not where you're supposed to be. You're not
Mhm.
aligned with your true self. Once you're in alignment with your true purpose,
Mhm.
it does not matter what the money looks like, even though we're going to be creating strategies to make the money. But it doesn't matter what that might look like now, or the risk you're going to take. You're willing to do it because you're looking for a deeper sense of peace than money
Mhm.
can buy. You're
Mhm.
looking to go to bed and feeling good about today. I was able to do XYZ. Waking up in the morning and just feeling like, thank you, God, I'm finally able to do what it is I know I was supposed to do. Because I
Mhm.
think it's Eric Erickson, who's a social psychologist or psychosocial person,
Mhm.
development, a person, psychosocial development he deals with. He actually speaks about the different stages of development and talks about one called stagnation versus isolation. And it's
Mhm.
almost, I believe, the stage where many people are beginning to reflect on their lives. And so what you see is many people older in the older age, they will say to you, you know, my entire life, I always felt I was supposed to do this.
Mhm.
I was too afraid to do it. I didn't want to disappoint my parents. I didn't
Mhm.
want to do this and that's because there was the calling. Purpose was always showing up in their life at different moments of their life. Purpose is always showing up, always trying to call us to a higher level. The higher level is not necessarily status level, but a
Mhm.
higher level of being who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. A
And so
higher level of being. Yes.
yeah, so it's
Mhm.
forever present, but
Mhm.
many don't answer that call because it doesn't always come in the package that we expect. It doesn't
Mhm.
always come in the way that we expect it, but it is the only thing that can give us the greatest sense of fulfillment. And that's why I say to people, the greatest travesty of any of our lives is to actually exit this life through the
Mhm.
death without accomplishing what we were supposed to accomplish. For the Christian, it's probably even more of something that is frightening, because we always talk about, God saying, well done. He's not going to tell you,
Right.
well done, if you didn't do what you're supposed to do. Because you have an assignment. And so we like to talk about the Great Commission. Oh, the Bible tells us, go
Yeah.
and preach and teach. But that's a general a commission. But there
Mhm.
is a special assignment, a special mission
Right.
that only
Mhm.
you can do, because it says before you were conceived, you already chosen for it. So it doesn't matter if you came here by rape, incest, and a marital, extramarital affair, teenage pregnancy outside of wedlock. It don't matter how you came, the assignment was there on your life because God already
Mhm.
knew all of that good stuff. And so
Mhm.
he chose you for it. And so if we exit this life without fulfilling that commission, how then can we expect to hear him say, well done? Because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. The job was left undone and the job
Mhm.
had my name on it. And so I
Mhm.
want to ensure And that's why I'm so passionate about purpose. That's why I'm so passionate about this book. That's why I'm so
Mm,
passionate about the women who are reading it. Why? Because I want more women to rise to a higher level of themselves, more women to understand the importance of being able to accept the call. If we want to head a well done, if we want to have great impact, we need to live in alignment with our true selves, our divine purpose,
right.
which is who God created us to be.
Well, that's the end. And on that note, wow, thank you so much. But that is so true. We think about this well done as a, uh, you made it through the gate, right? You made it, and you're at the door, like, okay, well done, or with the Great Commission in the Bible, go and share this gospel, and we're thinking about how many people are baptized, right? Or maybe how many people were baptized because of us, or and we're
Mhm,
thinking about our stars, and those are the things that we're thinking about when we say well done, not understanding that living in your purpose, all of those things come with it. Um I don't know, one evening we were talking, my husband and I, and we're talking about seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And we're seeing it as we have to study your Bible, we have to go to church, and then our vision is for the kingdom of heaven.
mhm,
And we
mhm,
say, seek the kingdom of heaven, not understanding that the kingdom of God, we are right here in this life, living, in I was well, there is the kingdom of heaven, and then there is earth, and we are his temple, and he's in us, and everything that we do, right, in harmony with him, harmony with our being, with our purpose, aligned with us, that is seeking the kingdom of God, right? And that
mhm,
is seeking his righteousness. When we say doing right as not sin, as opposed to doing right as in stepping into your purpose and living this full life that you're supposed to
mhm,
live. And
mhm,
so when you look at the verse, not so much from a religious or church or hope for the future, but how can you apply it to your life today,
mhm,
right? and
mhm,
and now you realize, as you seek that, right, you are again connecting to him. You are, because you can't do it without
mhm,
you
mhm,
can't do it without the source of all things, right?
mhm,
uh, yeah, so that came to mind also. But there's so many verses in Bible scripture and in other uh, writings that we apply to, we associate with the future hope of heaven, right? And we don't realize that our life here, there's a reason why we're here. We're not here just sitting around waiting for heaven, right?
mhm,
There is something that we are called to do, a
mhm,
unique purpose, as you say,
mhm,
as you're saying.
mhm.
I want to share, and so as we're going to close, and you're going to tell us how we can reach you, how we can take the book, we can get your book. I want to share this resource here. Um, oh, sorry, I forgot I was in a different computer. Command. I go from PC to instead. Here we go. I want to share with our viewers this resource here, free to get the free chapter, the first chapter of your book. Can you show the book again for people to
Yeah,
see? Dr. Nadine Collins,
we
The
love this.
Pursuit of Purpose. And I know it's a woman's guide, but I do
It's actually
believe,
for everybody. I
yes.
only, the reason why, my friend who wrote the prologue
Hmm.
said to me, Nadine, we need this. Men need this.
Yes,
But the only
yes.
reason why I kept the woman, it's only because I use data
Hmm.
about women, case studies. And then
Yeah.
the thought came to mind that our entire life in college and in studying, we were always taught principles of leadership and everything based on studies done by men, and we learned
Mhm.
from it. And so,
Mhm.
even though there's that a woman's guide, I mean, every single one of us, male
Yes,
to
I
female,
believe so.
can read the information to activate us because the men are saying, I need it, I need that too. And so I'm excited about that. You can get the free chapter. I also sent you the link where you can
Yes.
actually order your autographed hard copy. If you order it, I'm going to be putting a nice little note here for you. It's going to come in a beautiful box like this, right? I say I'm giving you the purpose experience. It has a nice little text up in here. And so you're going to be able to have the autographed copy. We get that to you. And so I'm excited. I know that it's going to change your life. There's no way that you can read it and it not change your life.
Well, this conversation itself it was life changing. So I can imagine the whole book. And you also have so you're a speaker. We can catch you on
Yeah.
Hope Channel 3 ABN.
You can
And
and check me out. My website is nadinecollins.com.
okay, okay.
And in addition to that, I'm on all like well most regular social medias. I'm Facebook,
Mm-hmm,
Instagram, LinkedIn. Yeah, these ones, YouTube. I have a YouTube channel there. You
mm-hmm,
can always just check it out. And if you're interested in reaching to me, you can reach me at nadinecollins.com. If you want me to speak at your organization, your church. I mean, I speak for women's programs, empowerment programs, church services, retreats, whatever. I
mm-hmm,
mean, if you're wanting somebody to speak on the topic of prayer or purpose,
mm-hmm,
perfect to empower women from both angles. Actually, I marry the two together. And I also train women leaders and stuff because my doctoral dissertation focus is on women leadership. And I'm
mm-hmm,
using all of these principles in the work of empowerment that I do and with
mm-hmm,
prayer because all of them are related. Because in order for us
mm-hmm.
to become the best version of ourselves as women, we need to be connected to God. That's why
Yeah.
books in my prayer series. I have 5 of them. Another one is on the way, and so on. And so I'd be happy to connect with any of you. Just reach out to me by email,
Mm-hmm.
send me an email, send me a message on social media. Let's connect.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nadine Collins. Those is the kind of conversation that I never want to end, but it uplifted me so much and reinforced so much in me. And I hope you guys, viewers, if you're watching this, if you watch live, and I saw that some people stayed the whole time, and if you catching it on the replay, please put your comments, your questions for Dr. Nadine and for me. But I know this has been a blessing, not just for me, and it's going to continue to be. So thank you so much for um, stepping into your purpose, right?
Mhm.
And the impact that you are making all around the world for women, for men, for teens, children. It's a shift, you know, in generation and a shift of impact and a shift in our mission that we
Mhm.
need. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
And this was our edition of 39 Down, our Mind Body podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Until then, live well and love.